Hello everyone, and welcome to the end of chapter homework video for exercise 7.6. In this video we're going to multiply two matrices together. So we're going to represent a matrix using a two-dimensional array. We're going to write a method that can multiply two matrices together, and then we're going to have some extra methods for nicely printing out the result. So with that, let's get started. Over in Eclipse I've created a new project called exercise 7.6, and to this we're going to add a new class called exercise 7_6. Alright, the first thing we need to do is import scanner. So java.util.scanner, because we're going to be reading input from the user. Now, down inside our class, let's start with the main method. So public static void main string array args. Alright. So the first thing we're going to do in the main method is obtain two matrices from the user. So we're going to create a scanner object. And before we do that, let's actually define a constant. Final int n equals 3. This is going to represent the size of the matrix that we're reading in. So today we're only going to deal with square matrices. So in this case, it's going to be a 3 by 3 matrix. Now, let's print out something to the user. Enter matrix 1. Now, we're going to read in a matrix and store it as a two-dimensional array. So let's create the 2D array. Double matrix 1 equals new double, and of course the dimensions in here are going to be n for both of them. So now we can read in our matrix. So let's have a for loop. Matrix 1.length I++. Now because we're reading in a 2D array, we need a nested for loop here. So for int j equals 0, j less than matrix 1 at index I dot length j++. And then inside here we can store the value that we read in. So matrix at I and j equals input dot next double. So that's it. That's how we can read in a matrix. So what we're going to do next is completely copy and paste this code, because we can reuse it to read the second matrix. So we just need to change all of these matrix 1s so they say matrix 2, and we need to do this fairly carefully. So matrix 2 there, and this has to be matrix 2, this has to be matrix 1. And now we're ready to go. At this point we've read in two matrices, and we are about to do the multiplication. So let's leave the main method just here for now and think about the multiply matrix method. So we're going to have a method, public static double. So it's going to return a 2D array, multiply matrix, and its parameters are going to be two two-dimensional arrays, M1 and M2. Okay, so we're going to return a two-dimensional array. So what we should do here is create the result array. So double 2D array result equals new double, and the dimensions are going to be first m1.length and then m2 at index 0.length. Alright. So next up, we're going to actually do the multiplication, and it's going to involve a few nested for loops. So the first one, for int I equals 0, I less than, m1.length, I++, and right away we're going to have another one. So for int j equals 0, j less than result, dot length, j++. And here we're going to have yet another one. So for int k equals 0, k is less than result at index 0, dot length k plus plus. And now we can do a calculation for a specific element in the result. So why don't we do this? Result at index I and j equals, actually plus equals, m1 at I and k multiplied by m2 at k and j. So this is how we need to do the multiplication, because remember, the matrix multiplication involves a combination of adding and multiplying to obtain a result for a single element. So that's what's going on there. Finally, we can return a result. And we're ready to go. So now we have this awesome method that can multiply two matrices together. Why don't we write a method now that can nicely print the result of that? So what we're going to have down here is another method, and we'll call this public static void print result. Now what this is going to take is a few matrices, so a 2D array M1, 2D array M2, 2D array M3, which is going to be the result, and a character that represents the operation we performed. The reason we're doing this is so we can have this method work with several different operations. It'll just print out the right character depending on what we put in. So what we're going to do here is have a nested for loop, but what we want to do is have matrix 1 multiplied by matrix 2 equals matrix 3, but have that appear left to right. So the loop is going to be slightly different to the previous ones. So for int I equals 0, I less than m1 dot length I plus plus. Now inside here we're going to have another loop. So for int j equals 0, j less than m1 at index 0 dot length j plus plus. And what we're going to do here is simply print out one row from matrix 1. So system.out.print space plus m1 at I and j. Now what we're going to do is decide whether it's time to print out the op yet. So what that means is we want the operation character to appear kind of in the middle between matrix 1 and matrix 2. So the way we're going to deal with this is if the current index of I is equal to m1 dot length divided by 2. So are we at the middle of the matrix yet in height, sorry. If we are, we're going to print out two spaces with the opcode and then another two spaces. Otherwise, we're just going to print 5 spaces. Oops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now what we're going to do is print out a single row of matrix 2. So I'm going to copy and paste this and just make sure that we change this to matrix 2, and we'll print out matrix 2 here. So that'll print out one row from matrix 2. Now what we need to do is decide whether it's time to print out the equal sign yet. So again, I'm going to copy and paste this code because it's exactly the same. Oops, I forgot to press copy. There we go. Now what we're going to do here, instead of printing op, we're going to print out an equal sign like that. Otherwise, again, we're going to print out the spaces. So next, I'm going to copy and paste this set of code again to print out one row from the result. So this has to be M3, and this needs to be M3. So once we've done all of that, we're going to print out a blank line. System.out.println, which will jump us down to the next row, and we print out the next row of row 1, decide whether we need to do the operation, print out the same for matrix 2 and the result. So there's our awesome print method that's going to be nicely format the result for us. Let's jump back now to the main method. We have the methods here for calculating the multiplication and displaying the result. So let's use them. So double two-dimensional array result matrix equals, we're going to do a call to our multiply matrix method, and we're going to pass in matrix 1 and matrix 2. So that'll store the result. Now let's print this out. System.out.println. We're going to start off with a new line to give us some space. The multiplication of the matrices is print. We'll call print result matrix 1, matrix 2, result matrix, and operation, which was multiplication. So there, that's it. That's pretty much all the code we need to do. So let's test this now. So run as Java application. Okay, enter matrix 1. I'm just going to quickly do this. So 1, 2, 3, 60. Oops. Enter matrix 2. So that's our 3 by 3 matrix for matrix 1. And there we go, we have our nicely formatted-ish result. What we could do is, so you can see here, there's a slight problem because we haven't necessarily put in the same number of decimal places. The way around this would be to, instead of use system.out.println here, and here, and here, we could use printf to nicely format the result so it pads it correctly. But I'm not going to worry about it for this video. But actually, that's pretty much it for this video. So quickly to summarize now, in this video we wrote a method that could calculate the result of multiplying two matrices together. Now matrices are essentially two-dimensional arrays, which means we use nested for loops to iterate over the elements in the matrix. So two loop variables allow us to address individual elements in the two-dimensional array. And that's what we did. We multiplied two matrices together. So with that, that's wrapping up this video. So thanks a lot.